Trevor Noah, remember that name? Now instantly famous. Only one day after being named the new host of The Daily Show, the young comedian from South Africa is being criticized over jokes that some call sexist and anti-Semitic. Here's CNN Sarah Seidner.
Trevor Noah has only been on The Daily Show 3 times.
We're always excited on the show to find new, talented voices that can contribute to our program. So we are very pleased to welcome our newest contributor from South Africa, Mr. Trevor Noah.
But within 24 hours of the announcement that Noah is the next Daily Show host, he's gone from comedy darling to demonized for some of his old jokes on Twitter. May 2014, behind every successful rap billionaire is a double as rich Jewish man. Hashtag Beats by Dreidel. In 2009, almost bumped a Jewish kid crossing the road. He didn't look before crossing, but I still would have felt bad in my German car. And in 2011, oh yeah, The Weekend. People are going to get drunk and think that I'm sexy. Signed, Fat Chicks Everywhere.
The fat chicks of the world don't need to be reminded that they're seen as inferior to not fat chicks. That kind of humor doesn't necessarily play in a Daily Show context.
Thus, the Twitter firestorm. New Daily Show host Trevor Noah is callous Jew basher on Twitter. The Anti-Defamation League chimed in as well, wishing Noah success, but adding in part, "We hope he will not cross the line from legitimate satire into offensiveness with jokes calling up anti-Semitic stereotypes and misogyny." Some media critics pounced, saying Trevor Noah is on the wrong side of the line between funny and offensive.
Honestly, I was more offended by how the jokes weren't that good.
But he has plenty of supporters who enjoy roasting the media. At Scott E. Weinberg tweets, morons dig through comedian at Trevor Noah's back tweets, discover lots of jokes. What a scandal. And CNN is on it. One critic says Noah's biggest problem, most Americans just don't know who he is.
This guy 24 hours ago was a relatively unknown guy in the United States. He'd only been on Jon Stewart's show 3 times. And now he's going to be heading really the flagship show for Comedy Central. And you can expect a great deal of scrutiny.
Comedy Central is standing by their man, saying Trevor is a talented comedian with a bright future. Trevor Noah himself tweeted, "To reduce my views to a handful of jokes that didn't land is not a true reflection of my character, nor my evolution as a comedian." Welcome to America, Trevor, where the biggest sin is not being funny. The good news, even Jon Stewart bounced back from death to Smoochie. Sarah Seidner, CNN, Los Angeles.
By the way, I predicted that response from him. It's about evolving as a comedian. But I want to talk about this with Artie, Lange, comedian and best-selling author who hosts ArtieQuitter.com. And then John Fugelsang is an actor and comedian. If I can get my lips a work, and they join me exclusively tonight. Big fan of both of yours.
Thanks, man. Big fan of yours.
What do you think of this, Artie? I mean, the guy...
Well,
he barely even has a job. I'm not sure if the ink is dry on the contract or if he's even finished signing.
Well, it's like welcome to machine, baby. It's welcome to the world now. My favorite comedians of all time are dangerous. I like when a comic's dangerous. Like, you don't know what's going to come out of their mouth. Richard Pryor was dangerous. George Carlin was dangerous. This guy looks like an underwear model. He needs an edge. I'm happy to, did something that's a little edgy and crazy. I don't think the jokes were particularly that funny. Some of them were kind of old jokes. Me and John were talking about it.
I knew some of those in junior high school, some of those punchlines.
Yeah. But that's the thing, like, if you think if it was funny, remember the whole thing that happened with E?
Right.
Sometimes it's who says it, right?
Sure.
Because if Joan Rivers said something, everyone would laugh and go, oh, that's just Joan Rivers. But if Juliana Rancic says it, even though it's written for her, there's an outrage.
Don Rickles is like that, too. He gets away with a lot of stuff. If you read it on paper, out of context, it looks like the most offensive thing ever. But, I mean, I officially support Trevor Noah. I think he should get the job, and he'll get out of this controversy, and it'll be fine. But,
do you think that this is, and maybe it's social media driven, I find now that, John, that people are outraged for just the sake of being outraged.
Well, you're right. Our national addiction is umbrage, and we can't get enough of it. And everyone out there loves to be offended, especially on social media. It's one of the few things that unite conservatives and progressives in our culture. We love to be outraged. These jokes would not have been as outrageous if someone, like Artie said, that we all knew had said it. If Howard had said it, if Carlin had said it, it would have been a punchline, not as funny, because we don't know Trevor Noah yet. People are willing to judge his entire career and everything he's ever done based on a few old jokes. And if that's the case, every comedian should get the chair.
You know a couple folks over at Comedy Central. Why, and some inside info, I'm sure, why did they choose a relative unknown for this flagship franchise?
Well, I can't actually say why he was chosen. He's a very funny guy, and I wish him well on the show, but I do think a lot of folks don't realize the kind of grind it takes to do a 10-hour-a-day show. You get a national headliner, someone like a Chris Rock who'd be great in that role, but Chris Rock's making movies, he's not going to go give 12 hours a day to it. A lot of us would have loved to see, I would have loved to see Louis Black get it, but I'm very happy for this guy, and I know that this thing is going to be forgotten because just like we love the outrage, we also have the attention span of the guy from Memento, and we'll be on to our next faux outrage.
I just think it's so interesting. Yeah, faux outrage.
Yeah.
It's amazing because sometimes you will say something about someone or to someone, and they're not offended, but then you have this old machine. That was so.
That's why it's so hard to offend comedians.
Well, everybody has a community. There's all these communities now. Jamie Foxx just got in trouble with the trans-operative community, and where are these communities pop? I mean, the last community you can make fun of are fat guys, and there's no one gets offended at that. Like
I think some Muslims might disagree with that.
There's a guy who calls me obese Witherspoon on on Twitter. And he gets a bunch of laughs. What, should I get the fat community together to protest this guy? No, because I'm not offended. I don't care. I got better stuff to do.
Do you think what Jamie Foxx said was offensive? Honestly, I laughed at the joke, and I have trans friends.
Listen, we're comics. Right. The guy who won the decathlon in 1976 is becoming a broad. If we can't...
And he's a hero. And he's a hero. Bruce Jenner doing that is now a hero, and there's trans kids that won't commit suicide because they see Bruce Jenner doing it because he's known to these kids from being on a horrible reality show where he's abused by Kardashians. It's a story of survival. In the case of Jamie Foxx, he wasn't putting down trans people. He was making jokes about a celebrity. And if you want to be offended by that, it's very easy to.
In a weird way that I mean, maybe in time that'll normalize it because then everyone is fair game.
Right. I mean,
Bruce Jenner it does
made it
You ever hang out with transgender people? They make fun of each other all the time.
I hung out with a transgender person on Saturday night.
You and me both.
Yeah, so there you go.
Bruce Jenner made
I'm serious, I did.
Bruce Jenner made it a spectacle by selling it to a TV network.
Yeah.
He's not trying to do it on the down low. He's like, look, I'm trying to make money off of this. And that's not a 400-pound gorilla in the room. That's a gorilla on fire.
Jamie Foxx wasn't being mean to Bruce Jenner. He was making jokes about a celebrity.
If a comic's not allowed to comment on that story, then what are we even doing this for? We're going to just keep making jokes about airports? I mean, it's...
All right, let's get back to Trevor because we've gone off to Jamie Foxx and all that. I want to go to, he was on your show, and let's watch. Here's a clip of him on your show.
Some of the classiest racism I ever came across in America was in Lexington, Kentucky.
Okay.
It was beautiful racism. Charming. No, it was charming racism.
Well, they perfected it down there.
They said the most amazing things,
That's the Ku Klux Klan are in silk contour sheets now. They're very expensive.
He's talking race here. And
right.
Should people, what did he say, in Arkansas?
Yeah,
should they be offended?
He's making
Kentucky.
Yeah, he's making fun of racism in Kentucky. He's talking about a fact. That's what comics do. You bring up controversial stuff a lot of the times, and a lot of us get bored with the typical subjects that we're expected to talk about.
It's not the comedian's job to choose material that's going to make the audience comfortable, especially a political comedian.
All right, let's look at him again on your show talking about politics now.
Are you political in your act? Are you political?
Oh, I don't like to think I am, but politics is part of life. And I come from a very political background.
Right.
When you come from a principle that you
well, that's true.
I was
inherently political.
Exactly.
Right.
Do you think the accent is going to be a problem? Some, South African talking to Americans about politics?
Well, first of all, I think most Americans understand me less in that clip. I mean, I sound like a North Jersey guy in The Sopranos.
But John Oliver does it.
Yeah, but,
and he sounds like a bad guy from Lethal Weapon, too.
Well, that's a good point, though. It is. I think, there's a lot of people mad that no Americans seem to be getting these jobs anymore. I mean, there's nobody from Buffalo that's kind of funny that could get this gig.
There's no women that can get a gig like this?
When he talks fast, it is kind of hard to understand the punchline at times. Like it is with a Cockney accent with Brits, you know, you might, a lot of people might just not understand what he's saying.
But I hope they don't hold back because of that, because they can be a great joke teller, but you got to be a great truth teller for the Daily Show to mean anything.
Okay, let's play this, and I want to ask you, maybe the problem is Twitter, maybe it's the Bieber roast last night. Oh my gosh.
What about that? Look at Martha Stewart.
Look, go ahead, play it.
I hate your music, man. I hate your music more than Bill Cosby hates my comedy. You release so many horrible and unwatchable videos. You should change your name to Vanilla Isis.
Oh. Come on, you said Anne Frank would have been a believer. If Anne Frank heard your music, she would have Ubered to Auschwitz.
I mean, that was harsh, but is it the problem 140 characters?
In terms of context?
Because it's
Twitter,
for his Twitter.
Yeah.
It's not really that much for his routines.
Well, that's going to make you a good writer or prove that you can't edit. I mean, that's the challenge of 140 characters. You've got to make the point. The joke is subservient to the point you're making, and some of his jokes just had no point. They were just kind of mean. And that joke he could have tightened it up a bit. But you know, Twitter is just because you have a joke that is bad on Twitter doesn't mean it won't work in a club or in a TV studio as well. They're completely different mediums.
Chris Rock talks about, he said back in December, I think it was in New York Magazine, where he said that, basically I'm just going to sum it up, you can put the full screen up, but what he says is, people are afraid to try things out because everyone has a you-know-what camera now.
Right.
And you used to be able to try material out in the club and you wouldn't get slammed for it.
That's the whole thing. You have to take a risk. But back when, you know, John and I started doing stand-up, if you were in Cincinnati at a club at midnight, it was just you and those people in that room, man. You could say whatever you had to do to get off stage, get your check, and get out of there. Now it's you and the whole world in a room. It's just got to take one person you offend. They throw it up on their Twitter. Look what Artie said.
Michael Richards.
Tracy Morgan ran into that trouble. You know, and
Tosh ran into that trouble.
Chris Rock on Saturday Night Live did a monologue about the Freedom Tower. Everybody goes through it. No one is immune from these so-called PC police, and ultimately it'll hurt comedy because of what Rock said is true. You're afraid to take risks. If you don't take a risk, you're not going to get better at being funny, you know?
All right. By the way, my friend Laverne Cox, you know, the cover of Time Magazine, we did hang out on Saturday night.
I believe you.
I'm going to call her
Don.
and see if she's offended by that.
At what in particular?
At the joke.
Which one?
The trans joke.
But you know, but that's
from
the
Jamie
thing.
Foxx,
But that's the thing about this kind of risky humor. The fact that there was the outcry and the umbrage shows that more people will hear that controversy and be more sensitive to trans people in the future.
Stand by. You guys are going to stick around. Nobody should be surprised when comedians sometimes go too far, but is Trevor Noah the right choice to follow in Jon Stewart's footsteps? We'll talk about it. Most Americans didn't even know who Trevor Noah was until yesterday, but he is known by his fellow comics. I want you to listen to this bit from his stand-up in London. This was 2 years ago.
I landed in New York and I was fluent in my Black American. For shizzle my nizzle. Everything. I had the walk, I had the talk. I was so black, I was even laughing. I was like, ha, 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 yeah, ha, ha. Oh, my man. Oh, this you? Ha, ha.
All right, so joining me now, Natalie Shore, journalist and comedian Jay Thomas, Emmy-winning actor and host of The Jay Thomas Show on Sirius Radio, and Wendy Todd, a culture and race blogger who wrote a piece in the Washington Post about Trevor Noah, and Artie Lange and John Fugelsang join me. They're back with me. Hey, Wendy, this is what you say. You wrote this in the Washington Post. You said, Noah might look like an enlightened choice, but his routines show he isn't. His jokes often hinge on insulting African Americans. Well, you can keep him. I'd like a conscious person of color to the wheel, not someone who's already driven me off a racist cliff. At the wheel, I should probably say. You're worried that he'll continue to perpetuate negative stereotypes. Why?
I just think that, first of all, you're coming to this country and you're making fun of their residents. I don't understand that thinking at all. And you're contributing to stereotypes that are perpetuating a construct that's already devaluing Black people here. We're getting shot in the street because people do not feel that we're of value. And to make jokes that contribute and perpetuate that ideal it's upsetting. It's upsetting, it's irresponsible.
Is that a lot of pressure? Why can't comedians of color have the same freedom as other comedians to practice their craft? They have an extra burden, you feel? Should they? They're comedians.
I don't think it's about them practicing their craft. I think it's also about intention. Is your intention to move a conversation forward if you're exploring something as controversial as race. But if your intention is just to get a joke, then who pays for that? And I feel like African Americans have paid enough not to have someone come here and make fun of us.
Natalie, you are a strong defender of him on Twitter. I mean, comedians are supposed to be offensive. Isn't that part of what being a comedian is? And really, at some point, it's just about being funny and pointing out stereotypes?
Well, to me, I think the question is less about whether or not someone deserves to be offensive and more whether or not Twitter specifically is emblematic of someone's talent and comedic sensibilities. I think that a lot of comedians use Twitter as more of a work yard than a final draft. And I think as a result, it's a lot less curated than other writing might be. So I think it's unfair to hold him to the same standards as you would for a televised comedy set, which we already know that his sets are a lot different than what we saw on Twitter.
Jay, you don't think that his tweets are funny, so where then is the line between funny and offensive?
Well, first of all, John was supposed to get the job. So if John tweeted what he really feels.
We weren't going to say that.
And Artie knows that too. And Artie and I were going to be special needs correspondents. So we already had this thing ready to go. Here's the strange thing. Twitter is like Botox with an expressive face. It just takes away all expression. And then the Twitter terrorists, who are these people that are just basically shut-ins, and they get a chance to attack and bring people down. And they've been, kind of successful in this. I really am proud of the fact that Comedy Central has backed him up and that Jon Stewart is backing him up too, because it would be wonderful to see someone not get fired for something on Twitter. If you release what Martha Stewart said last night on the Bieber roast, if you release that on Twitter, her stock would have been cut in half. She would have been reduced. She made homophobia, black people, people in prison, in jail. I mean, she just went on and on. It was spectacular, but it was on TV. It wasn't on Twitter. That thing is evil, that Twitter thing. That thing is horrible.
Well,
but if you go back to Jon Stewart, Jon Stewart also backs him. And from one of his greatest bits, which was the Faith Off, I think we must just ride the Red Sea log flume with him, because he thinks this kid is great.
Okay.
So let's go with him.
Go ahead, Natalie.
I mean, I think Twitter can be really great. I mean, I agree with you that there are definitely people who I think sit on Twitter looking for a comment to put into an article, but I also think that that's part of the nature of social media, that everything that happens is immediately evident to every corner of the internet, and the digital media culture that we're in, that I think all of these writers and all of these bloggers are under so much pressure to hit the news peg, and I think that it creates all of this outrage and affects our ability to discern between a big deal and a small deal, and this just strikes me
I'm
as
so
a very
offended
small
you
deal.
said that. I can't believe you would say that.
I am outraged when
Oh, you're
someone makes fun of African Americans and they get rewarded for that. I am outraged at that.
But Wendy, I have to say this. If you look at Richard Pryor, if you look at all of the great comedians, they've made fun of what they know. They've talked about African Americans. They were very funny with it. Is it the difference?
And that's the point. They were funny. Trevor Noah, for me, is not funny.
Well, he's not
coming
Richard
over
Pryor.
here.
That's a hard, no one is. I mean,
Right,
And
Don
there's
makes
no
a good
comparison
point.
to Trevor Noah and Richard Pryor. They're
But
not in the same
Wendy-
category. It's not in the same time.
Here's my only thing about Wendy. Wendy's clearly a very smart person, probably way smarter than me, and she's a very serious person. But a lot of what she's saying doesn't belong in a conversation about comedy, because Trevor Noah does a couple of racially sensitive jokes doesn't mean he devalues African Americans and wants them
But that's not
to
for
be
you to
shot in the
decide.
street.
That's not for you to decide.
Who is it? Who is it?
It's not for you to decide either, Wendy.
Who gets to decide?
It is.
That's what
I think that
That's
if you are a person who is being targeted by these jokes and
You're
are
being targeted by Trevor Noah's jokes.
the African American community, the black community here in the United States,
I
that is exactly who
respectfully
he
disagree
targeted.
with
Wendy,
you.
respectfully,
I mean, you're not.
I'll bring you to any comedy club in any major city, Wendy, and show you African American comedians making the same exact kind of humor that Trevor Noah
And
made,
that's their
albeit
choice.
funnier. Yeah, albeit funnier.
But it doesn't mean that it's okay.
But
and
it's mocking
there
a
is
stereotype,
skill,
but it's mocking a
but there
stereotype,
is a
not
skill
perpetuating
to
it.
telling a joke that moves a conversation forward.
Well, Wendy,
And
why
from
don't you
my
tweet out a
perspective-
list?
Wendy,
tweet out a
it's
list of
not
jokes
about
we're
a
allowed to
conversation. it's not about a
I think that
conversation.
is.
The person you described should be the star of Killing Jesus.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a whole different. You're serious. You're talking about
I am
some
serious because
person.
these are serious issues to me. And
John
there are serious
Stewart
issues
is not
to other
serious.
people who are
He's-
marginalized by these types of comments.
All right,
Trevor
stand by, everyone. Stand by, everyone.
Or Mike Brown.
I'm gonna talk to the.
He is not being valued on the same level as other people from other communities. And these types of comments, coming from someone who's not even from here, further adds to the perpetuation
You know what?
of a stereotype.
Somebody tweet it. These damn foreigners. Somebody tweet it.
And we're talking about the show, and
Get it
that's
over with.
exactly what Comedy Central wants us to do.
We're
Yes.
taking it way
I
too
want to
seriously,
continue this
guys.
conversation. I really want to, and I'm wondering if we can. I wanted to ask the producers if we can condense the next segment because I'd love to continue this. I think it's a very important conversation. So don't go anywhere. We're going to work it out in the break, and we'll be right back. Okay. Back now with my panel. Everyone's back with me. I begged the producers to give me a little bit more time, so this is a lightning round. Wendy, you're getting beat up on, so who gets to decide?
That's okay. I think the people who are affected by stereotypes are the people who get to decide how they feel about that. Someone else, someone white telling me that I shouldn't be offended by these jokes because other black comedians have done it doesn't make sense to me. If other black comedians want to make jokes about black people, that's their right to do that. I don't have to think it's funny.
Wendy, you're beautiful and articulate. It's a pleasure to almost meet you virtually. I think in an era when we see black men disproportionately thrown into the prison system, in the poverty to prison pipeline we have in this country, where the Confederate flag, the symbol of quitting America because you want to keep people as livestock, still flies above the South Carolina Capitol, being offended by an artist's jokes might not be the best channeling of your energies. And I say that with respect and admiration.
It is about the message that it perpetuates.
I encourage you to
It's not
watch
about
the
jokes.
entire special he did. You'll see he's making fun of himself throughout it.
Yeah, we've got 30 seconds.
And
Artie.
part of it, but
I think the
that's not what he did
funniest
on
thing,
Atlanta on his first
the
appearance.
most offensive thing said here tonight is that Jay Thomas is a journalist.
I agree completely.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. I also
Where'd you
believe
put that on the
that
resume?
this was a decision to try and get people internationally involved in the Daily Show. I think that's the biggest mistake they're making.
That could be-
They want it to be some international kind of a thing,
Yeah.
and
It's
you know,
working.
Nobody
All right, guys.
minded those jokes in South Africa.
That's it. Natalie, sorry we didn't get you in, but thank you, everyone. We'll have you back. We'll be right back.